Trauma's a weird thing. We spend so long trying to understand and grow from the parts of us that it's damaged, but after coming out on the other side, there's still this innate desire to reach back into the darkness and help pull the people still stuck in it out. As much as I like to say this is a purely selfless act, I believe there's more depth to it than that. For those of us with a traumatic past, we often see ourselves in those who share similar struggles. And there's this sense of personal fulfillment in reaching out with that helping hand because it's an opportunity to be the person that you needed but never had growing up. This is where the Ancient Magus Bride comes in. If you haven't seen it, check out my previous video on the series that covers Chise's journey from wanting to die to recognizing her own worth. Season 2 of the Ancient Magus Bride hit just as hard with me, if not harder, especially given where Chise's at in her healing journey, which feels super similar to where I'm at in my own. Season 2 starts with Chise joining a college for alchemists, where we meet a cast of new endearing characters, but today I want to focus on Philomela, a character who immediately stuck out to me. Philomela was born into a family sworn to serve the Rickenbacker family, with her grandmother, Lisbeth Sargent, being the head of House Sargent. Lisbeth despises her granddaughter, deeming her a failure and a creature unworthy of free will. Philomela's upbringing left her struggling to understand who she is and what it even means to be alive, something I unfortunately can relate to. When you grow up in an environment where your worth feels tied to what you can do rather than who you are, it's easy to lose any sense of self outside of the roles forced upon you. For Philomela, her life has been filled with duty and subservience. She had to obey without question, stifling her sense of self to the point that she's not sure she even has one. Much like Philomela, I've struggled with what it means to be alive, to exist outside of expectations and obligations, and how difficult it can be to carve out your own identity. Both Philomela and Chise also wrestle with feelings of self-worth, or rather the lack of it. Growing up under the weight of judgment and expectations, it's hard not to internalize the belief that you're somehow lesser, unworthy of love, or even a basic sense of humanity. For Philomela, this manifests in a quiet acceptance of her place as a tool to others, something to be used rather than valued. Chise, too, has carried the weight of others' judgments from being an unwanted child to feeling like she doesn't deserve to be alive. Watching them struggle to break free from these beliefs, to come to terms with their intrinsic work, is something that resonates deeply within me. Chise and Philomela share a quiet understanding. While their trauma is different in origin, the impact it has on them is similar. Chise has spent so long feeling isolated, unwanted, and disconnected from a sense of family and belonging that she sees herself in Philomela's reserved and haunted expression. They both carry an internalized guilt, a belief that they somehow deserve the pain they've endured. This mutual understanding creates a bridge between them. Chise, now a few steps further along in her healing journey, offers a kind of silent encouragement to Philomela, a reminder that it's possible to move forward and find one's worth. Their connection isn't overly emotional or dramatic, it's subtle, almost like Chise is gently guiding Philomela towards self-acceptance, without needing to say it outright. She understands that Philomela isn't ready to confront her own pain, just as Chise herself wasn't. Instead, she provides a sense of solidarity that gives Philomela a glimpse of what's possible. Chise's empathy, born from her own struggles, acts as a quiet reassurance to Philomela, a reminder that even the damaged parts of ourselves can be met with understanding. But while Chise's support is soft and unobtrusive, there's another presence in Philomela's life who challenges her more directly: Lucy. Lucy also plays an essential role in this process, especially for Philomela. Lucy is a fellow student who at first glance is almost the polar opposite of Philomela. She's strong-willed, assertive, and quick to voice her opinions. But beneath that exterior, Lucy shares her own scars. She's lost loved ones to forces beyond her control and has built walls to protect herself. Lucy's guarded nature and Philomela's passive, reserved demeanor create an interesting dynamic, one that pushes them both outside of their comfort zones. For Philomela, Lucy represents a challenge to the passive role she's been assigned her whole life. Lucy isn't one to coddle and sugarcoat. She forces Philomela to confront her assumptions and limitations, showing her that there's strength in vulnerability and it's okay to want more out of life. At the same time, Philomela's presence serves as a reminder to Lucy about her own unresolved trauma, which she often tries to bury under her bluntness and sarcasm. In a way, they mirror each other's struggles, each carrying burdens they don't quite know how to set down. Through their interactions, Philomela begins to realize that she can have desires, boundaries, and a voice of her own. Lucy, in turn, learns that opening up and showing empathy doesn't make her weak, it's a way to heal. Then there's Rian, whose warmth and openness provide Philomela with something that she's more than likely never experienced before: kindness without expectation. His compassionate nature contrasts with the cold, transactional relationships Philomela has grown up with, treating her as an equal and somebody worthy of care without ulterior motives or demands. But their relationship isn't without its own share of tension. Rian's approach to life, while nurturing, also brings out parts of Philomela's past wounds and insecurities, challenging her in ways that she isn't always prepared for. At times, this dynamic creates a painful dissonance for Philomela. Rian's kindness can feel overwhelming or even uncomfortable for Philomela, as she grapples with the possibility of trust and friendship, a concept she's barely been allowed to understand. For someone like Philomela, who's lived under strict expectations and harsh criticism, genuine warmth and patience can almost feel suspicious and undeserved. This often surfaces in moments where she questions his intentions, wondering if there's some kind of hidden motive behind his kindness, something she should brace herself against. Rian too has moments of frustration as he struggles to understand the invisible walls she puts up, often feeling confused by her hesitation or guarded responses. This turmoil becomes a test for both of them, especially for Rian, who has to learn patience while trying to reach out without overwhelming her. It's a delicate dance with moments of miscommunication that reveal just how deeply Philomela's past has affected her ability to accept kindness or believe in the good intentions. Despite these struggles, Rian's friendship becomes a subtle yet powerful influence on Philomela's journey. His willingness to stay, even when she retreats or shuts down, slowly starts to chip away at her walls. She begins to realize that while there are misunderstandings and painful moments, genuine friendship isn't transactional, nor is it a game of control. Their relationship shows that people can offer support and compassion even in imperfect ways, that there's strength to being able to work through differences, to be vulnerable and keep trying. Watching Philomela's interactions with Chise, Lucy, and Rian gives me hope. They remind me that growth often comes through difficult relationships, that sometimes it's the people who push us the hardest who ultimately help us discover our true selves. And like Chise, who has found her own family in Elias and the people around her, Philomela's journey isn't one to walk alone. She's finally beginning to see that she can have friendships, boundaries, and a sense of self-worth that aren't defined by her family or her past. The Ancient Magus Bride doesn't shy away from showing the raw and often messy process of healing. It highlights the importance of having people in your life who are willing to support you, challenge you, and remind you of your worth when you can't see it yourself. And in watching characters like Philomela and Chise, I'm reminded that no matter how dark things may seem, there's always a path forward, and sometimes all it takes is a little bit of kindness and a few imperfect friends to help along the way.